Childhood memories can hide chilling truths. Are you brave enough to face them? You are listening to Shocking Ramen Tales. There is a dark side of myself I never revealed to my friends and family. As I reminisce about growing up in the heart of 1970s Singapore, where my childhood unfolded, our house stood just a stone's throw away from the Christian cemetery. As the sun came up, the misty cemetery felt incredibly quiet with unsettling whispers. The eerie banyan trees stood like ancient watchmen, their roots hanging down like ghostly tendrils. There is one particular banyan tree in the middle of the cemetery that holds a special place for my dad and me. I called it the waking tree. There's a small circle of grass around the waking tree. This is like the eye of the cemetery. And this place holds a secret spot in our hearts. It is also my dad's favorite place in the morning for his Tai Chi exercise routine. He never misses a day unless it is pouring. For my dad, this was the only way to start his day. And as for me, I love to run on the unbeaten paths around the tombstones and explore every corner. In some areas, the dense foliage overhead forms a twisted canopy that barely allows the moonlight to filter through. The darkness within the cemetery grounds doesn't scare me at all. It's more like a backdrop for my childhood escapades. Among the tombstones, the echoes of hide and seek resonate time and again. A simple game from my youth played amidst the slumbering souls. Just like any other day, the sun was barely up and I was wandering around the tombstones trying to catch a naive frog. Though small, it was fast, and finally I caught it with my bare hands. I was so happy as I turned around to look for my dad. I was frozen. I saw a boy not too far in the distance. I couldn't make out his face. He had short, almost grey hair, but that could have been the reflection of the light. He was dressed in a traditional Malay sarong. His clothes were worn out, and he had an inexplicably familiar look. Just as I was about to wave to him, he raised his left hand and pointed east. I looked in that direction and saw the woods that led to a hidden village. Suddenly I was startled by the little frog. It jumped out of my hand and disappeared into patches of tall grass. I gave up on the frog, and as I looked up, the boy had vanished. Strangely, I thought I heard him whisper to me. I could never forget my encounter with the boy, so I jotted the date down in my diary, June 11th. I called him 11. My unquenchable curiosity about the hidden village surged like an unstoppable tide. My parents had shared tales of traditional Malays dwelling in primitive ways, living without electricity or gas, relying on wood for cooking and oil lamps for illumination. It presented a harsh contrast to the modern cityscape of Singapore. In this familiar terrain, just east of the waking tree, a place remained concealed deep within the woods. Cloaked beneath a dense canopy of trees, it perpetually shrouded itself in an unexplainable mist, an eerie veil that added an unsettling touch to the mystery. It was high noon. Finally, I embarked on a daring adventure, pedaling on my DIY bicycle towards the mystery veiled within that hidden village. I stopped by the waking tree for a moment as if to ask for its protection. As I arrived at the perimeter of the woods, I ventured closer. Each step heightened the sense of foreboding. The air became thick with an inexplicable tension, and the rustling leaves overhead seemed to whisper secrets that left goosebumps pricking my flesh. The hidden village, hidden not only by name, but by a mysterious mist, beckoned me onward. My heartbeat quickened with every passing second, and the suspense hung in the air like a thick fog, making the quest to unravel its myth all the more irresistible. Thunder clapped, the mist turned into moisture, and a light drizzle blurred my vision as I traveled deeper into the village. There was a scent in the air, smells like sandalwood. The scent grew thicker, and I felt it swirling around me to the point where it seemed to be following me. I turned my body and tried to trace the scent, and there he was, Boy 11, standing at a brief distance. This time he was smiling at me, and suddenly lightning jolted me. In a flash, I quickly opened my eyes. His left arm was raised, and now he was pointing to a hut deeper into the village. I squinted my eyes to try to get a clearer visual of the hut. And when I turned back to Boy 11, the drizzle had suddenly turned into a downpour, and Boy 11 had vanished again. I wiped off the water on my face. The rain and muddy ground were forcing me to dismount and proceed on foot, pushing my bicycle through the haunting atmosphere. Drawn by a faint glowing light near the hut, soon darkness enveloped me, with distant flickering flames, revealing shacks and huts crafted from primitive materials. Some lacked doors, heightening the sense of the uncanny, and there was not a single soul in sight. The torrential downpour had completely blocked my vision, and I was constantly wiping my eyes. In a split second after clearing my vision, I found myself standing before a hut, as if it had materialized out of thin air. Smoke billowed from burning candles inside, and the overwhelming scent of sandalwood filled the air. The numerous candles created an illusion of fire. My heart raced, and my body felt beyond my control. As I stepped forward, an inexplicable force seemed to pull my entire body into the hut. The smoke dissipated, revealing a ritual in progress. Villagers dressed in malevolent tribal costumes with unnaturally elongated tongues chanted in an unfamiliar language. Some waved peculiar tools that resembled war weapons, taunting one another. Upon inspecting the walls, I noticed glass bottles mounted in the crudely carved cylindrical sandalwood, hundreds of old wax-dripped burning candles littering the scene. These bottles contained deformed baby fetuses suspended in cloudy ethanol alongside their human entrails. Panic set in, and as I attempted to flee, my legs felt rooted to the ground. My body started to shake violently. The chanting villagers had surrounded me as if I were the sacrificial lamb centerpiece. The chanting crescendoed, tears blurring my eyes, and my head was spinning. The echoes of the chanting had now turned into a deadpan ringtone. Just as I was about to pass out, I raised my head, and there he was again, Boy 11. Standing upside down with his feet on the ceiling of the hut. His face was just inches away from mine. He looked straight into my eyes. He gradually raised his hand to point to a particular glass bottle isolated on the wall. The sandalwood holding the glass bottle was painted with red stripes, and I could vaguely make out the letter M symbol carved into the sandalwood. My vision faded to black. A gush of warm liquid trickled down between my legs, and horror consumed me. Gradually regaining consciousness, I found myself back home, safe in my bed. Overwhelmed with relief, I embraced my parents, tears streaming down my face. Despite the bizarre encounter, I never questioned my parents about my rescue. I simply wished to erase the event from my memory. Years passed in silence until one day I reluctantly returned to the cemetery, to the waking tree, with my father, doing our usual thing. I looked up at the waking tree, filled with questions about my encounters in the village and who the boy was. I opened my eyes, slowly looked down. My face turned as white as a ghost, as if all the blood had been sucked out of me instantaneously. There he was again, Boy 11. He had grown taller, but he had the same face I could never forget. This time he smiled at me and gradually pointed at a tombstone. Multiple strobe lights flashed before my eyes, recalling the horrifying images imprinted in my mind. Panic seized me and I called out to my father. His gaze met the boy's, or perhaps the man's. Casually, my father revealed that the boy had fallen off his bike years ago, and he had found and carried him back to the village. The creepy revelation carved chills into my flesh as the insignificant event resurfaced with haunting implications. As boy 11 slowly walked away into the distance, I summoned all my courage and ran over to the tombstone. The name of a Malay woman was chiseled into the tombstone, along with her unborn child, a boy named Mayalik. M. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the story. The fetuses in bottles are a manifestation of black magic and voodoo and traditional practices in various Asian cultures, which are still prevalent today.